Joining us now by phone is Donald Trump. All right, Donald, Obama sat down with the bankers today at the White House. It wasn't just a photo op. You think they're listening to him?
Well, I think they're probably not listening to him, Larry. We are in a situation where banks are not lending at all, and they obviously don't have very much respect for the president, so it's a problem. But I saw the folks over at the White House. I just saw a newscast. They're obviously not listening. You're not going to get the economy going unless the banks start to lend, and they are not lending to anybody for virtually any reason.
But they took all this money, so what are they doing with it?
Well, they're buying airplanes like Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan Chase has a whole big fleet of planes, and I understand building a magnificent hangar. They're doing lots of wonderful things, but they're not loaning money.
Well, how did they get away with it? Wasn't there? Don't they put a stipulation on the loans we gave them?
I don't think they put much of a stipulation because you see what's going on. And I can say you can have the finest job in the country. You can have the finest tenants in the country. If you go, as an example, for a mortgage to build a building or a construction loan, the banks will tell you, we love you very much, but there are no loans. Loans are not available. I have cases where I have buildings where people bought a unit, but they can't get money to close the unit. They just can't get what they call end loans. They can't get them under any circumstances, great buildings. So the banks took in billions of dollars. I don't know what they're doing with the money, but I can tell you one thing they're not doing with it is lending. No. And another thing, you used to have many banks in New York. You'd have Manufacturers Hanover. You'd have Chase. You'd have J.P. Morgan. Those two merged. Chemical Bank. You had them all over the place. Today, you have very few banks. They've all merged. They've become monsters. And if they go bad, it's going to be a catastrophe. They should really do something possibly to break up the big banks.
Is the president between a rock and a hard place here?
I don't think so. I think he is trying very hard, but the banks are not listening.
So what does he do?
Well, he's got to get them to loan money. He's got to get them to put out the loans. And if they don't do that, they're just showing a very great lack of respect for the president.
Do they need more regulation?
I don't think they need more regulation, Larry, but something's haywire. You can have, it's very interesting. Rates are very low, but you can't get money. In theory, if you can't get money, the rate should be high. But rates are record low, but nobody can get money. Strong people, really good people, people with high credit ratings cannot get money. So something is wrong with the system.
So the obvious, how did we get to this?
Well, look, it's been a long road. It's been a long and winding road. It was a mess a year ago. The various folks did really, I think, the right thing by stuffing the banks with money because every bank would have been out of business no matter how strong it was. You're going to have a run on the system, a run on the bank. So I listened to a lot of people saying, oh, they shouldn't have done that, let capitalism work. Well, that would have been fine, but we would have gone through about a 10-year depression, and we were really right there. So they did the right thing in putting the money into the banks. It kept the system alive. The problem is, Larry, the banks are not loaning the money.
All right, overall in the economy, how is the president doing?
Well, I think you'd have to say he's working very, very hard, but I'd like to just say incomplete. You don't know until you see. Finance is a very interesting thing and a very complex thing. You really don't know what's going to happen until you can look out with a crystal ball 4 or 5 years. Nobody can do that. So really the word would be incomplete, but he is trying hard. He's doing his best.
What are your own